Okay, good evening, everyone. I'm calling this meeting to order. Hingham Selectmen, November 19th, 2015. The first matter of business is that I'll entertain a motion to enter into executive session for purposes of discussing strategy with respect to collective bargaining or litigation, and to return to open session. I think that I should focus this a little bit more precisely. I'll entertain a motion to enter into executive session for purposes of discussing potential discipline, employment matter. This would be a process discussion only as it relates to Mr. Chris Phillips, and then to return to open session in approximately 15 minutes' time. I will say that I will not participate in this vote or this session, and in fact I will recuse myself from any vote relative to Mr. Phillips by virtue of the fact that at a point previous to the time that I was elected to the Board of Selectmen, I represented him. I've conferred with counsel with respect to the appropriateness of such a recusal. I've already publicly disclosed my relationship with this man, but I think under the circumstances it's appropriate that I not participate in this discussion. So on that basis, I'm putting forward the motion. I'm not going to act on it. This will be up to my two colleagues to either side of me to make the decision as to whether to go into executive session on this matter.
Do you need me to make the motion?
I can't make it.
I'll make a motion to enter into executive session for purposes of discussing strategy with respect to collective bargaining or litigation, and return to open session in approximately 15 minutes.
Can I ask a question, Mr. Chairman?
Sure.
So, I was made aware about noontime today of the details of this meeting at the executive session. As of Monday, it was not on the agenda. I think Tuesday at some point it was put in. We're not voting on anything. We're just a process. We're just having a discussion. Is that what we're saying?
Yeah, I can't get into the specifics of what I think the discussion's going to be because I'm not a part of it. However, this is a matter that obviously, is of great interest to the town by virtue of the report generated out of the internal investigation requested by former Chief Moreno and current Chief Olson. So
I just need to jump in here. We've been all aware that this is coming. Paul, you were notified. We've all been notified. We've all had ample time. And when agendas come up, we have a responsibility to ask what's on the agenda. This is an important matter for the town to move on, and I'm going to ask you to second the motion so we can go into executive session so the town can begin the process of moving on.
Mary, I did ask what was on the agenda. I was told Monday it was a separate matter which is being taken up at the end. When I spoke to the office on Wednesday, after seeing it on Tuesday, the person I spoke to didn't know what it was about. And then on Thursday, with 12 o'clock today, I was told, and my thing was, why wasn't I told ahead of time this is what it was on? I also, based on, I think it was your recommendation, that agendas are supposed to be set on Friday. So that's it. We've been
through this on so many different matters, and we as a selectman have a responsibility to be prepared and come to these meetings ready. And everybody has been given proper notice, and I'm going to ask you to please second the motion.
What do you mean by proper notice? Let
me just say that there's a cloud hanging over the Hingham Police Department, and we have got to get on with addressing that and moving forward. The last week, our last meeting, I spoke to the issue of the integrity of the department. I know you're not getting the calls, but I am. And there's a persistent media interest in this whole matter that just is unrelenting. So To put this matter off another second, I think, is contrary to the best interests of the town. And that's why I think that this is a matter that should be acted on tonight. You're not addressing the merits of anything other than the process. And I think that based on what's in these reports, we need to get going on that. We really do.
And that's fine, but the request was made November 9th. And I've spoken to this office several times since November 9th. I was never told that we were requested. I was never told it was going to be on the agenda. And I thought we all agreed that we would not put anything on the agenda after Friday. That was something that you suggested after we had issues with the volunteer list. And that was months ago. So it's nice, Mary, it's fair to you to say that you think I had notice. I asked continuously, what is coming up? I was not told it was on the agenda as late as Monday when I was told what was on the agenda, so I wasn't told. I'm not prepared to vote on anything today because I just found out at noontime, so that's my only point.
We've been down this road several times. We all know what has been coming tonight. We've all been prepared for it. We've had access to counsel to have those conversations. If someone on this board is not ready to vote on this tonight, shame on them.
Yeah. Well,
I make the motion to enter into executive session for purpose of discussing strategy with respect to collective bargaining or litigation, and to return to open session in approximately 15 minutes.
and all I'll say is I was prepared to discuss it even though it wasn't done according to our protocol, but I'm not prepared to vote on it. So I'm not going to second it if I'm going to be chastised by you, Mary, for asking that I be told ahead of Thursday, the day of the meeting, that we're actually going to talk about it. I know a lot of things are coming up, Mary, but we're supposed to talk to each other about these things ahead of time. That was what you suggested, Friday, even if I was told Monday, but I wasn't told until today. That's my only point.
Well, and I was told that this office has made numerous attempts during the week to reach out to you and review the agenda, and that you were not available. Now, we've had a lot of kind of back and forth. We have a serious matter in this town that we need to attend to. We have budgets that are coming up, and we have a decision to make that we have been getting prepared for as a board for several weeks. I'm asking that we go into executive session to do that.
You were given wrong information because I was speaking to this office on Monday and Wednesday about agenda items, and I was not told the specifics of this request. So
You ask?
I did. I asked what's on the agenda, and I asked what was in executive session, because I wanted to know, what we're going to be talking about. And it's on the end of the agenda. This was added on Tuesday afternoon, Mary. I mean, you can be upset, but if we just follow the protocol that you suggested, I think it would have been fine, but...
Well, but I also, again, we've been prepared for this, and my understanding is that we have a request from the chief of police that is supported by the town administrator, and I think we have a responsibility to both those people to take this matter up. I'm prepared to take this matter up, and I'd like my motion to be seconded.
And it was sent on November 9th, by the way, and so why weren't we told, and me in particular, before today? That's what I want to know, Mary. And I think that's a fair question.
Now, I
I'm
don't
not
know.
going to second it, so...
Okay. Then I am actually going to make a motion. I would like to make a motion to appoint an independent hearing officer to conduct a hearing and rule on any discipline issue that will arise from the Matthews and Associate LLC report regarding anonymous letters sent to the Selectmen's office on or about April 15th and April 20th.
Is there discussion? Comment?
Okay.
Just briefly, I'll consider the motion once I have information about what we're doing, because I have not spoken to the chief, I have not spoken to anybody else about that issue, but I'm not going to make a decision tonight. That's for sure. We do this the right way, we sit down and talk about it, and let us think about it, then I'll consider it. I'm open to the suggestion. I'm not sure exactly how it works, but I'm sure I'll hear about it at some point.
The way it actually was supposed to work tonight was that we were supposed to go into executive session and talk about it. We can't talk about it out here. We can only make the motion out here. If you'd like, I'd be glad to make the motion so we can go into executive session and talk about it, if that's a better way. But not doing anything, to me, is not an option. Town needs to move on from this. We have a request from our police chief that's going to help us resolve this matter, and I think we have a responsibility to take it up. So I'm happy to revisit the motion for executive session. If not, I offer this motion to make the appointment.
Mary, I agree we have to deal with it, but I found out about it today, Mary. I'm not going to make any decisions, so I don't want to waste people's time by going in executive session and you making the motion again out here when I just found out about the details of it at 12 o'clock today.
Okay, then I'm going to make one other request. Based on my review of the police investigation report, specifically the testimony of Irma Lauder, I'm going to ask you to please get an opinion from council before this matter is taken up at our next meeting about a potential conflict of interest that you may have in hearing this matter.
Conflict of interest because of Irma Lauder?
Because of Irma Lauder's testimony, specifically pages 59 through 62. In reading that, I have a concern that there is a potential conflict of interest that you may have, and I would ask you, in the interest of moving forward, to get an opinion from council before our next meeting so that we can continue to address this.
Sure,
Chief, I apologize that we can't take this up tonight. I know you asked for it on October 14th, and we're going to try to do our best to move it along.
Your position's final?
I'm not going to make decisions in the dark. I found out about it at noontime today. Other people may have known about it ahead of time. Seems to happen quite often. I'm not going to make a decision today. I'd love to hear about it, but I'm not going to make a decision today.
Well, I'm not speaking to that, but in terms of the notice issue, this was circulated on Tuesday, and the issue's certainly been live for at least as long as the report was issued, and I think the report's dated August 30. So we're languishing in the weeds for months on a problem that's affecting the morale of the department, and
Well, you can't
disappointed.
put that on me, because Kevin Feely asked me the other day, has anybody talked to you about this issue? And I said, no. He goes, oh, we'll have to address that. And nobody ever did otherwise.
Have you contacted Mr. Feely? Because I mean, we've all had access to counsel, and I know when I've gotten briefed, have you had conversations with Mr. Feely about this matter?
No, I talked to him about, if you let me finish. I spoke to him about other matters, and during that conversation, he asked me whether I had was aware of their request to have a special arbitrator. And I said, no one has spoken to me about it. And he said, we'll have to address that. And I assume he must have called Ted and talked about it, but Ted didn't call me and say, let's get this thing worked out. What do we need to know? I got notified Tuesday there was I didn't know exactly what it was about. I asked about it on Wednesday, and Thursday at noontime I was told. I hope that answers your question, Mary.
I'm not going to ask Mr. Feely to come up here and respond to that.
No, I don't want to
because
put
think we need
Mr.
move on
Feely in
with
that
the
position.
business. We have people who are here waiting for appointments, so why don't we move on with the meeting?
all right. We never did go into executive session, so we will now entertain questions from the public regarding items not on the agenda. Nobody wants to speak. The next matter of business is the request for a change of manager relative to Black Rock Country Club, LLC. Anybody here from Black Rock? Will you join us, please? Table? Hello.
Please.
Welcome. It's very informal. You could just briefly inform us what you're proposing to do here. I've looked at the papers, so.
So we've made a change in staffing. I'm the general manager, club manager of the club. We made a change with our food and beverage manager, whose name was previously on our liquor license, so we're requesting to change it to my name.
Okay.
And you're Denise?
I'm Denise.
Denise Eddy.
Denise Eddy.
All right. Welcome. And I see you included a certificate of completion with respect to the TIPS training.
That's right, yes.
Came back with a clean Corey?
Good.
Good.
I hope so.
Just asking. Okay.
Oh, was that a question or a statement? I was hoping that was a statement.
I'm just trying to lighten the mood up a little. Do my colleagues have any questions?
Betty, I'm expecting that everything, we have our Sharon Perfetti, our licensing clerk, is very thorough,
Several
so.
times, yes.
All right, I'll entertain a motion.
Make a motion to approve the change of manager for Black Rock Country Club LLC from Brad Cornwall to Denise Eddy, subject to the approval of the Massachusetts ABCC.
Second.
Discussion, hearing none. All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Thank you, Miss Eddy.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Congratulations on your promotion. All right. Next matter on the agenda is a joint session with the Board of Assessors to fill a vacancy. Gentlemen, would you join us, please? Crawl? There, all right. Nice to see you. I take it you're Mr. Finelli? No. Okay. Who's the chair?
Will you step forward, please?
I guess it would be that one.
Yeah.
Welcome, Mr. Finelli. Thank you for stepping forward and expressing an interest to the Board of Assessors. Would you be so kind as to introduce yourself to the town? You're on film, camera, TV, whatever, and just tell us a little bit about yourself and why you think you'd be a good fit on this very important position.
Sure. My name's Bill Fenley. I'm a resident of Hingham. Lived here now for 11 years. Currently, I'm a real estate broker out of the Caldwell Banker office, and I'm also a licensed real estate appraiser. I have my MBA from Suffolk University. Straight out of undergrad, I started in commercial and industrial appraisal work, and then sort of segued mainly into doing residential. Licensed to sell real estate since '91. So I'm entering my 25th year in the business, good, bad, or indifferent. And 3 children, plan on staying in town. And I saw the opportunity here. It's interested me in the past. I think there was opportunity a couple years ago that the timing wasn't right for me. And so when I saw it posted in the paper more recently, I thought this might be the right time.
All right, well, thank you for stepping forward. Would any of my colleagues, Board of Assessors?
You know, it's very seldom you have to make a selection from one, but as long as we're making a selection from one, I'm glad to have somebody step forward with some of the information that we can use from him, okay?
Good. Anything you'd like to add, fellas?
Your resume looks like you're very well qualified for the position, and thank you for stepping forward.
How much appraising do you actually do these days?
A fair amount. You know, still, it's a hard balance, as you know,
Right.
being in the business yourself for a number of years, right? I still do a lot. I mean, I have a lot of local banks, local clients, and I do a lot of private work that's mainly all referral-based.
Okay.
And, you know, I try to focus as much as I can on the brokerage side. But at the end of the day, it's a commission-based business, so and the appraisal side is as well.
Have you ever taken any of the courses that are available?
Oh, yeah, constant. I mean, a lot of continuing ed, so we have to do the mandatory continuing ed every 2
Okay.
years. So, you know, we do that on both the brokerage and the appraisal side. But I'm a licensed appraiser. I'm not certified, not a certified general. You know, I did a lot of commercial and industrial work, like I said, initially out of college, probably into the early 90s. And I still will do some for certain clients, even though I let them know well in advance that I'm not certified general, but I have the experience to do it. And so depending on what kind of value estimate or what they're using it for, then I'm certainly willing to do it.
Have you taken any assessing courses?
I have not. No, I have not.
Would you be willing to take?
Yeah, by all means, yeah.
Got bad news for you, the one this summer is on the Cape.
That's fine. That's fine. I got a place to hang my hat down there. I'll be all right. And now, is that only offered once a year?
They usually offer it 3 or 4 times, but they're spread throughout the whole state. Could be
Right.
the western part of the state, Boston. The
Berkshires.
Cape is actually a gold mine.
The closest one, right. Yeah, no, I wouldn't be adverse to doing that. Just, especially now, if I got enough notice, I just build it into the calendar.
Any problem with the hours that we usually meet?
No, I called and spoke to Mrs. Nolan today, actually, just to get an idea what the expectations would be, so that, and that had been a concern, which is really what prompted the call for me, not knowing what the scheduling was or the time requirements would have been, but it doesn't seem to be a concern for me now. Initially it was, because I'm just juggling, but that the Tuesday afternoons at 3:30 would work out perfectly fine, and then anything after that, you know, as long as I have notice, I can build it into my schedule, one way or another.
Anything, Mike?
No.
Gentlemen?
Lady?
Mr. Fennelly, thank you for coming forward. So this is your actually, tonight would be voted to fill the remaining term of a vacant position.
Correct.
And then this would be an elected office, so I'm assuming that you would be prepared to put your name forward in the election when the term
I
expires.
would, yeah, I mean, I'll, short of taking this as a test run, if this turns out to be catastrophic for one reason or another, I might be thinking differently in 5 months.
We hope it won't be.
But I don't think that would be the
Sure.
case, and yeah, I'd be more than willing to do that.
Thank you.
Thanks a lot.
All right?
Careful what you agree to.
Just, I just want to thank you for, you know, putting yourself out there and volunteering for the town and to fill this vacancy. Obviously, it's a needed position, and obviously there aren't anybody else looking for it, so we appreciate you coming
Yeah, I'm
forward.
surprised, actually. We talked about that a little bit earlier today, but that makes it easy on me, I guess, right now.
Thank you for doing that.
My colleague has absented herself out of necessity, but, well, you know what? Poor form to take the vote without her here, so.
Any more questions?
I'm sure she's all right then?
Questions from the audience?
When would the election be? When is that? Or when would this term expire?
The next election is
Election's in
April
April.
30th.
It's nice weather that time of year.
Hopefully.
It's springtime. Welcome back.
Thank you.
I had that happen to myself periodically. All right, well, there's no need to delay, in my view. You gentlemen prepared to go forward?
Yes.
Since it's your board that we're filling a position on, I'll let you guys lead off. You want to make a motion?
I would make a motion to accept this gentleman's
Point.
appointment.
Point this down.
Appoint this gentleman.
Mr. Bill Finelli? Is it Bill or William?
Fennelly, I think.
Bill, please.
Bill, okay. That's why I'm asking.
You want to
Okay.
make the motion? I gotta-
Please, would you?
I'll make the official motion, then you can, it's move to appoint Bill Fennelly or William Fennelly to the Board of Assessors to serve until the next town election.
Second.
Discussion? Hearing none?
It's a roll call vote.
Oh, that's right. Why don't we start this way?
It's always with me, huh?
You know, sometimes you have to get a short straw.
Yeah.
Okay. Aye.
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 Congratulations.
Bill, congratulations. Welcome.
Congratulations.
Welcome
Thank you.
aboard. Good luck. Okay,
Thank you.
got a couple other
Good to
votes.
see you, gentlemen.
Thank you.
Thank you for coming in. All right. I'll entertain a motion to approve the issuance of a special one-day all-alcoholic beverages license to Hingham Community Center Corp., care of Virginia M. Walsh, for the annual cabaret fundraiser to be held at the Hingham Armory on January 28, 29, and 30, 2016, from 7:30 p.m. to 11 p.m.
Second.
So moved.
Second.
All those in favor?
Aye.
I'll entertain a motion to approve the issuance of a special one-day all-alcoholic beverages license to Lavishly Dunn, Inc., care of Jonathan Dunn, for the Hingham Mothers Club cocktail fundraiser to be held at the Hingham Community Center on December 5, 2015, from 7:30 PM to 11:30 PM.
So moved.
Second.
All those in favor?
Aye.
I'll entertain a motion to designate the town administrator as the hearing officer for Step 2 grievances under the Police Superior Officer's collective bargaining agreement.
So moved.
Second.
All those in favor?
Aye.
At this point in time, do we have any kind of reports that we want to make, or?
I'll just briefly let you know that I've concluded my budget recommendations, and the budget packages are ready for you. They're being printed. Well, I shouldn't say they're being printed now. They're being printed tomorrow, and you will have them on your desks for the weekends. I will present the budget formally to the board on December 3rd. We'll give you the overview of it along with discussion of fund balance.
Okay.
I have one thing.
Fine.
So, and Bob, can you, I'm not sure what we call this device that projects, the easel. One of the things I've noticed in the last couple of weeks that there have been a couple articles about the water company and about water rates and water supply. And as the Selectmen liaison to the water company, I actually thought that it might be a good idea to just present the town with a couple of facts that have been presented to the town before but might bear sharing again. Are they? There you go. So up on the top here, I'm just going to kind of do this in a couple pieces. This first piece is actually a look, you know, when Macquarie bought the Aquarian Water Company in 2007. So Macquarie has owned Aquarian for about 8 years. And in that time, there have been some changes in rates. In 2009, Macquarie recommended close to a 25% rate increase, and the Department of Public Utilities granted an increase of 21.4%. In 2012, Macquarie requested an 18.7% rate increase. The DPU granted 11. As we all know, in 2012, Hingham began the feasibility study to consider purchase of the water company. In 2013, based on refinancing of debt for the water treatment plant, our water rates were reduced by 8.2%, and then in 2015, a one-time tax refund only for that year results in a 3% decrease. Now, interestingly, where we are right now, as of 2014, according to Tie and Bond, which is they're an organization that specializes with water companies, the average Massachusetts annual water bill is $532. Here in Hingham, our average water bill is $940, which is the 10th highest in the state. I'd like to just mention one other thing about the topic of water supply, because I know that's all important to us, particularly given the stressed Weir watershed. One of the measures of the water industry is something called unaccounted for water, and that is water that a community draws out of the aquifer, but it doesn't make it kind of through the system, and there are lots of different reasons for that. And that's important for us, because if we're drawing water out of a stressed watershed and it's not making our way into our system, that actually has an influence on water supply. What you see here is a chart that shows the unaccounted for water under Macquarie ownership, and that's for what we call Service Area A, which is Hingham, Hull, and about 300 houses in Cohasset. The DEP, Department of Environmental Protection, has a standard that municipalities have unaccounted for water of 10%. As you can see in this chart, the Massachusetts average from 2008 to 2014 is between about 13 and 15%. Here in Hingham, our unaccounted for water in 2007 was at 24%. It dipped down to 16%, back up to 21%, and as of the end of last year is still at 23%. And just to put that in perspective, that's about 300 million gallons of water every year. So as we're looking at the concept of water supply, there are many factors that go into it, and I would just remind the community that unaccounted for water is one of those very important factors. Carol, I can give you a copy of this if you'd like. So,
Thank you very much for that. Good update.
Where did we get those figures from?
So the water rate increases come from the DPU. The water rates come from Ty and Bond. And the unaccounted for water comes from the Massachusetts Office of Energy and Environmental Affairs. So this is all information that gets reported on a regular basis and it's gathered for all communities.
Did you put that together yourself?
Yeah.
Very good. Thank you.
You're welcome.
Can we get copies of that?
Oh, sure.
That'd be great to see.
I'm going to give this one to Carol, but I'll send a copy to Betty.
Thank you.
And if you could.
Good.
Anything you'd like to add, Counsel?
I know that we weren't meeting last week, and I know Paul and I were at the Veterans ceremony at Town Hall, and as always, it was a moving ceremony, capped off by the unveiling of the Freedom Award. It was a wonderful time. I really enjoyed myself, and I every year I go, to me, it's all about the veterans, and so it's their day, and I try to take the time to thank each and every one of them for their service, because they obviously deserve it, and they deserve all of our praise. But I always am so impressed at the large crowd of people that come from town to show their support for veterans. And I know I saw some young children up there, which I have in the past, and that's gives me a lot of hope that the youngsters, especially the Boy Scouts and Cub Scouts and boys and girls that were there, don't forget the service that these men gave us during the World War II and subsequent battles.
Well, I echo that sentiment. I found it a pleasure to be a part of that. I only wish my colleague could have joined us, but I know work demands are such that, we're all three of us work for a living outside of our role as selectmen. So if you don't see all three of us every time, that's usually because we're working when we're not here. I'd like to thank my colleagues on the South Hingham Working Group. We had a very informative meeting on Tuesday night. Jeff Dirk from Vanessa & Associates gave us a very interesting presentation with respect to the traffic impacts on the Derby Street corridor with certain development scenarios. And the next meeting is going to be a discussion of what kind of infrastructure would be needed to support that kind of development scenario. There's several different ones. This is an area of significance in terms of the developable land that's up there. The shareholders are present at these meetings. Interested neighborhoods are present. The conversation is respectful, and it's vigorous, because this is how we communicate to the landowners our vision. We hear back from them. It's a very productive exchange. So I know it's far out, and I'm going to hope to have that meeting televised, so that if you don't make your way up here, you can at least catch it on the cable. I think we should try to encourage as many of these public meetings as possible to be televised. I'd like to congratulate the police department for graduating 2 citizen police academies. I think that's an excellent community outreach program, and if you haven't ever thought about doing it, you should, because I think it gives you a glimpse into the world of the police. And in light of what happened in Paris, the pressures are immense on police forces, whether they're in international cities or local municipalities. So at this juncture, I'll shut up. We'll go into I'll entertain a motion to go into executive session to consider the purchase, exchange, lease, or value of real property, because discussion of this matter in open session may have a detrimental effect on the negotiating position of the town. And 2, approval of executive session minutes. The board will not return to open session this evening. And at this point in time, I'll take a roll call vote on that.
Aye.
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 Good night, everyone.
Thank you.
Good night.
Okay.